College is useless. Watch this recent Gen Z grad figure out that she went into an obscene amount of debt for nothing.
Can anyone explain to me how I have 2 degrees? You know? I'm trying to apply for jobs right now, and the thing is that the only person I have responding to me is a man from a tech company saying, hey, you want to answer some customer service problems? No, Bart, I don't want to answer your calls. No offense, but I'm a little more qualified than to just to be sitting around answering your customer service calls, Bart. So what am I supposed to do? And I'm looking down at these and I'm looking at them and I'm kind of wondering. I'm like, what was this for again? Oh, I don't know.
For the majority of us, a degree is useless. No one cares about your degree or school. This is a life tip, okay? It is about work experience, which you aren't getting doing blow at Greek events, and it is about who you know.
Educated Gen Z chick can't figure out why nobody is responding to her resume.
How does one get to the second part of an interview process? Because I've submitted my resume to about a bajillion companies, just a bajillion job positions, and every single one gets rejected.
Not in my house.
I go into it like, I'm not gonna get this job, and let me just submit it. And then when I don't get it, I go, oh, why didn't they pick me?
She needs experience.
She needs talent.
So I'm just wondering how I get past like the resume stage, because I feel like if someone talked to me, they'd be like, oh, you're chill, like you're intelligent enough to do this basic job, because like that's where I think I'll shine.
Really quick reality check here. As somebody who hires a lot of young people, I care about your experience, not your resume. I don't care where you went to school. Do you actually have skills? Woke intersectional feminist Gen Z Biden supporter finds out that her marketing degree, doesn't really go that far in Biden's economy.
I have a literal master's degree and I'm on my way to interview for a serving position. Because in this economy, as a post-grad Gen Z, I cannot afford to start a career on a first-year salary. I've tried so many jobs in my field, and every single one I've had to take money out of my savings to pay my rent. I tried doing what I love. Name one person who is a waitress because they love it. I'll wait. I'm sorry if that sounds insulting. If you are in the service industry and it's your passion, I love that for you, babe. That's not the way it is for most of us.
It's no accident. It's Bidenomics. We're growing the economy from the middle out, the bottom up, not the top down.
Gen Z chicks are finding out that their college degrees are totally worthless, and the only thing that matters in life is experience. Check out this legendary meltdown when the reality hits.
I have a bone to pick with America! I have my literal business marketing degree that put me in a cute $80,000 in debt. And I make more serving sushi rolls because I've been applying to marketing jobs for weeks now. And the pay cut is insane. But the jobs that are like a cute $150,000 to $200,000 a year, I'm not getting those. Almost 25-year-old chick going against corporate America, people with so much experience. All I got is my degree. People say, get your degree, but then they don't talk about how you need experience. The degree was the experience!
Shalom, like to say, call on how about Shemel Bashim Kakadash, the honest apostles and elsewhere, millstone, peace, and citation to hope for election. Yeah, these women, they're losing it, man. In particular, these college grads, for the most part, because when you look at the statistics about how much college graduates are actually graduating from college and finding a job compared to those who are not able to find a job, it's a small amount of people that's able to find a job in the field that they've actually got a degree in, for the most part. Whereas when you compare that number to the amount of people that actually went to college and can't find a job in the degree that they studied in, it really shows you how fuck they really are in the end. Because there's a lot of people in that situation, and the funny thing is, who mostly makes up the statistics in college is you women. You know, there's a study showing that majority of universities and colleges are filled by women. And I know for a fact they ain't offering free scholarship rides to every woman that attend college. You know, so much for feminism. But at the end of the day, you know, you women still do get some sort of benefits here and there, and y'all do have an upper edge over men in this society. But the funny thing is, a lot of the times, you know, you ain't gonna really always have your way, because as you can see from those women in those videos, they were complaining, you know, because they really thought that having a degree was everything. And you know, growing up, of course, you know, your parents will always teach that, and that was usually a requirement. But now in today's job market, these motherfuckers expecting you to have a 3 to 5 years of experience for entry-level positions, and that's just insanely wicked. And you know, before your resume even goes through a recruiter or a manager within the HR department, they are going to, you know, put it through what you will call an ATS system, which is an applicant tracking system. So they run it through that software, and they pretty much see if your resume closely matches the job description, because that's what it is nowadays. Because don't even get me wrong, like, you got people that even have to where they graduated from college, they have certain work experiences in different, you know, fields or whatever, and then at the same time they can't even get a job that they're overqualified for. And a lot of times it's because their resume is not specifically tailored for that position. And I feel like the reason why managers may not want to hire them is because, you know, they will also have a high chance of leaving that job quickly and not staying for a whole year or so. And at the same time, you know, their resume wasn't really specifically tailored for that position, even though they do have experiences in other things that could cross over. But for the most part, they want to just deal with people who actually been working in that field, even if it's a low level job. You know, they over here treating it like you fucking gonna become an actor in Hollywood. That's how, you know, afraid they are of hiring people now. You know, it's practically like a recession going on now when it's coming to hiring, because the chances of you getting hired is very small, and the chances of you even actually getting on an interview is small within itself, but it's even smaller of you getting hired. You know, they say, of course, as one of the women was saying in the video about, and it's the same thing like the other guy, he was saying that it's not about you, you know, having this, you know, the degrees and all that, certifications and shit, which all that other shit is good, but for the most part, they care about your experience. And it's safe to say, shit, at this point, with the way they fucking exaggerate in the experience and shit, you just, you know, you could finesse and stretch the truth and see how far you know, go with that. Because now you have it to where AI, you could pretty much set up prompts to act like you know, worked in a company similar to what the company that you're applying for, and then just try to, like, you know, of course, scratch, you know, copy and paste the description of the job that you're applying for, and seeing how your resume could tailor and match it. Because they're gonna have it to where when they put your resume through the ATS software, they're gonna have it to where they're gonna scan specific keywords and specific descriptions of your resume or your CV, and what they're gonna do is they're gonna see if that ties up with the job that they are posting, to see that if you qualify for the position. And then of course, if you know, pass through the ATS scanner, they probably have it to where, you know, give or take, it might be 70%, you know, or probably like maybe like the minimum percentage might be 70 to 80% that they will actually, contact you for the next stage of the hiring process, which would be that now that your resume has been reviewed, they give you a call, probably do a phone screening before the interview, or they might have it to where they just send you an email and just give you an interview date, selections and all that shit, and then they might even have it to where you go through a 2 or 3 stage interview, or maybe just 1 interview. However they orchestrate that and plan that out. But for the most part, like, yeah, a lot of you women are really stressing, and it's funny to see that it's even white women, and of course the women in those videos appear to be Edomites, and that's a funny thing, because here it is, the society is supposed to cater to Esau. Esau's supposed to have it easy, have it good, and have the world under their palms of their hands. But it turns out that they're struggling. You got this other woman in the video talking about how she is trying to apply for being a server or so, and she's going to go to an interview for one of those jobs, and she has a degree in marketing, and now they don't even care about that because they want you to have experience in it. And it's like the other bitch in the last video, that was the funniest one, because she was really screaming and getting upset. And you see, one thing about a lot of you women that go to college, a lot of y'all, now that y'all have graduated, and for you in the future that graduate, you're going to see how hard it is out there, because it's not really it's not even what you really know too. Sometimes it's who you know. It's about your network and how you finesse on the resume, because that's pretty much like the top 2, the networking, and then the pretty much finessing your resume, and then of course how well you do in the interview. So to start off, let me bring out this precept. I'll bring out other precepts too, but let me make this lesson edifying. So Sirach chapter 41 verse 7. Well, no, I'll start at verse 5. It says, "The children of sinners are abominable children, and they that are conversant in the dwelling of the ungodly. The inheritance of sinners children shall perish, and the posterity shall have a perpetual reproach. The children will complain of an ungodly father, because they shall be reproached for his sake." Yeah, and that's the fucked up thing about when it's coming to Esau, is that he have his own people suffering, and even though he pretty much tricked a lot of Jakes into supporting the system, going to college and all this nonsense, and just going as far as doing what he says to become successful, now it's like you ain't getting hardly anywhere, and it was just better off for you to just go to a trade school, or doing something similar to that effect, and just not even going to college at all. I mean, I know there's some brothers that went to college and some that got degrees and things of that nature, but for the most part nowadays, I would say it's not even really a necessary requirement anymore. And now what makes more sense is you actually going to like I said, a trade school, or just getting certificates and just finessing on your resume, of course. And when I say finessing, I mean like just lying about your experience and things of that nature, and studying the jobs that you previously applied for, or whatever. Like the jobs that you want to apply for, you just pretty much lying about the experience that you have that is closely related to that position, and just because they ain't gonna really check to see your employment verification like that, unless you probably working for maybe a government or a city job. But for the most part, those private companies, they're not gonna really check your references like that. And that's pretty much how it is nowadays. You gotta trick the system in a sense, because you see, one thing about Esau is that this devil thrives on lies, so why can't you lie too? just to even get an opportunity. Because it's like being honest and everything. It's like you got to stretch the truth somewhere. That's how you got to get down. You got to play along to get along, in a sense. As long as you're not doing nothing wicked, of course. Shit. Scriptures say Jacob was a supplanter. That's how you got to be, in a sense. You got to be, tricky in a way. But other than that, let me continue on. It says, "Woe be unto you, ungodly men, which have forsaken the law of the Most High, Yahweh. For if ye increase, it shall be to your destruction. And if ye be born, ye shall be born to a curse. And if ye die, a curse shall be your portion." Yep. And pretty much Esau, he's of course, a curse to the earth. And look what he's doing to the earth in general, and look what he's doing to his own people. Look what he's doing to everyone in general. He has everybody struggling. This devil really just put everyone that went to college in a Ponzi scheme, in a sense, especially if they haven't even gotten the job that they studied for. Because if they went to school to study a particular major and they didn't even get the job that they want, now they got to work a job that they don't like or so, and have to deal with poor unfortunate situations, like dealing with customer service for underserved people, having to deal with people who are not even worth the amount of money that you're actually making an hour doing that job. And you have to deal with the stress level, and you have to deal with these demonic GMO emotional ass people. That shit really fucks your head. And then plus at the same time, you got so much debt piled up against you. Then you got to pay rent, and you got to pay all these bills, and everything around you is inflated. And then it's like the student loans, it will hurt your credit score if you don't make certain payments on it, and all this nonsense. So it's like, this devil really got everyone in that trick bag. It's so fucked up. That's what you women are realizing, is that you're not going to be feeling privileged anymore. Thinking that you go to college and join all these sororities and all this shit, and getting laid up with all type of men and all this nonsense, and being a whore. Very soon, I feel like y'all ain't even gonna be continuously doing these low level jobs and just getting by. Eventually y'all gonna try to get your foot in the door being a OnlyFans model and seeing how far it gets you. But eventually that shit's gonna be oversaturated, that market. And at some point, you women gonna have to get down with the whole polygamy thing and get down with Isaiah 4:1, because y'all ain't realizing that you ain't getting hardly any opportunities trying to apply for all these jobs. And you think there's quantity over quality when it's coming to applying for all these job applications and all this shit. But nah, you gotta tailor your resume for that specific job that you're applying for. And like I was saying, before, when it's coming to trying to apply for, different jobs and things of that nature, a lot of times your same resume is not gonna pretty much be qualified for that particular position, because it has to be tailored in a specific way where the requirements match everything in that job description. So you're not going to have it to where a recruiter sees that, oh, you have a degree, you have all these certifications. That's good and all, but what's the sense of having that if it's not specifically required for the particular job that you're applying for? And that's what a lot of people need to understand nowadays in today's job market. And a lot of you women, and the majority of y'all not really understanding that. I'm talking about the ones that of course graduate from college. And a lot of times some people begin to find out that all that time they've been spending in college doing whatever they were doing to become a particular graduate in a particular study, they realize that it's very small amount of opportunities out there that's hiring for the particular major that you have gotten a degree in. And even if they're hiring for that particular major, they're requiring that you have initially 3 to 5 years of experience for just an entry-level position. Like, I think that's just straight up bullshit. But anyway, it says in Proverbs 29 verse 2, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. And you see, right now we're in the beginning of sorrows for the most part. You know, you have it to where Trump has these tariffs now. They're starting to take effect, and you know, they're trying to get an edge over China in the trade wars. But stupid Trump don't understand is that, you see, you owe China a lot of money, and at the same time China's exposing everything you Americans do. And I'm pretty sure they're watching videos of social media where Americans complain about how they can't find a job and all that nonsense. And I know they for sure, for a fact, laughing at Americans and how at one point we was just this great country and all the other nations decided to be like this country, and now look at this country going down to shit. You know, you got fucking debt going skyrocketing to the roof. Everyone's being billed on all type of bullshit. They just continuously driving more debt upon the citizens of America, even to the point where they brought the migrants over here, funding the migrant project, and you know, sending your tax money, the fucking tax money that you pay that comes out your paycheck is being spent on, you know, relief aid packages for Ukraine and supporting Israel. See, this is the reason why people are mourning, because the ruler that we have is a stupid ass child, and that's pretty much Esau for you, for the most part. Even his own people can't stand him, you know. And I'm talking about the low level Edomites. They're even sick and tired of the upper level Edomites and the schemes that they're pushing upon their own people. And realistically, it's those fucking Amalekites that's, you know, causing all this issue with the economy. And out of all you stupid ass people that continuously mourn, you decide to be in the house of mirth. You know, y'all try to find enjoyment in your entertainment, and y'all try to, you know, go back into the matrix of just keeping yourself entertained and satisfied with bread and circus, while the whole time you got it to where Esau is working on legislating ways of trying to take away more of your rights, and they putting that into legislation, while you dumbass people happily giving away your rights just to get more comfort. You know, eventually, you know, this job market crisis is gonna eventually lead to you know, social class war, eventually leading up to martial law at some point, because people are gonna become too, you know, atrocious, and they're gonna eventually become very anarchical and subordinate, and that's gonna lead to them pushing out the military in the streets, because you got it to where people are just gonna naturally want to revolt at some point. Because you mean to tell me it's hard for people to find jobs after graduating from college, and at the same time they're being billed, and people also losing their apartments, they losing on you know, their car, you know, they're getting foreclosures happening to them on their homes and their vehicles and things of that nature. So at some point, you know, people ain't gonna be too happy with stupidity, and they're just gonna have to just, you know, get down dirty. And then you're gonna see that second Ezra chapter 15 verse 16, you know, where it's gonna be sedition amongst men. And of course, we already know what this is gonna lead to, because Esau's gonna do all this he's trying to do all this shit that he's doing right now to crash the economy, so he can ultimately bring in that digital system. You stupid ass people, you know, we just gotta, as men of the Lord and brothers in this thing, and for sincere members of the elect, you know, in this thing, you know, even some that's gonna be, of course, gonna wake up to this truth at some point. You know, we're just all suffering right now, And we're mostly suffering because of these dumbass people in this world that just don't want to, learn about their rights and don't want to pretty much try to find ways to work together to fighting against the government. Scriptures say how the world is made for many, and but it's but the world is gonna come for the few, So yeah, many of you people here that's in the world, you other nations, and that the world is really made for. A lot of y'all on the low level, y'all not even pretty much trying to work together to challenging the government, and we all gotta suffer because you stupid ass people decide to prioritize your comfort over your rights. At the end of the day, it's like, this is captivity for the nation of Israel in general. So, the world that's gonna come for the few, at least we have the kingdom to look forward to. As for you other people, especially you Edomites, knowing that this is your last, well, a lot of them don't really know that. As we say, y'all should be rejoicing. Y'all should be pretty much robbers and thieves. You should be maxing out your credit cards. You should be pretty much going on a splurge, taking out loans to just have fun and just doing whatever type of schemes and scams that y'all upper echelon Edomite counterparts are doing. Because you see, in the kingdom of heaven, all you Edomites are going to basically be in captivity. Let me bring out this precept because, of course, this is, a response to, the videos that I pretty much brought out, and me just putting my 2 cents in on it, and of course, through the Holy Spirit, bringing out precepts that, correspond with the lesson. This is Isaiah chapter 32, and I'll start at verse 9. It says, "Rise up, ye women that are at ease, hear my voice, ye careless daughters, give ear unto my speech." And those women in the videos appear to be Edomites for the most part. Maybe it was a few, one of them that could have been an Israelite or so, maybe, who knows. For the most part, Isaiah 32:9 says to rise up, ye women that are at ease, and of course, even segmenting to the point where he says, hear my voice, careless daughters, talking about the nation of Israel. You Israelite woman, so-called black, Hispanic, Native American woman, and y'all gotta give heed to the message that's being, pushed. And of course, the Lord is using his men, prophets on the highways and byways and on the internet to, teach you women that you better get right, because you hear a lot of women mourning. You're hearing Edomite women mourning about the inflations that's happening. You hear them mourning about how they can't even get a job after graduating. I remember a couple months back, I believe, about a year and some change, I did a video about how, the humbling that's coming to your woman is just, it has hardly begun, because there was one woman that was crying about how it's hard for her to even just get a job for a minimum wage, a minimum wage job at that, like working at a few fast food restaurants, and she gave her a resume and they rejected her. And she said this is the most, humblest that she's ever been. And I'm like, wow, she really talking like she's really going through it, and you can only imagine what the Heavenly Father is going to get ready to do to you women out there that thinking that, some of y'all feel like y'all haven't been affected by, the unemployment. Y'all haven't been affected by, trying to find, employment and things of that nature, that it hasn't hit y'all because of your good networking skills and how you was able to get your foot in the door for the company. But a lot of companies are downsizing, and due to AI, it's taking away a lot of jobs too. So, a lot of you women thinking that y'all safe working these high level corporate jobs, working as managers, working these human resource related positions, or some positions that that AI may just very well take over, you know, because they're going to take over a lot of office jobs. They're even taking over some, you know, IT jobs to a degree, you know. There's going to be strictly jobs out there that, you know, of course AI is not going to be able to take over, that really require you to have some trade knowledge. And that's pretty much what companies are really hiring for, is for you to have actually, you know, skilled trade knowledge. And if you don't have that, they look at you as a liability. And the funny thing is, it's like they tell you about these years of experience, which they're going to train you on how to do certain things anyway. But a lot of people sometimes, you know, you'd be surprised that they may have a certain amount of experience, but at the same time, you know, some people catch on information slower than others. And companies trying to pick up on people who's actually quick learners. They're not really trying to waste their time with y'all. Some people even get a job and you wonder how the hell they got the job sometimes. And they may not even have the credentials for the job, but it's just because of how they networked, or, you know, how good they lied too, you know. Some people are just really lucky like that. And I'm not gonna lie, the society catering to you women and all this shit, y'all been lucky for a very long fucking time. And it's time that, you know, the Lord has, you know, put you women on the bottom of the totem pole and eventually make y'all pretty much humbled. And that's gonna come, because you're gonna see a lot more layoffs happening in the future. And a lot of you recruiters that be rejecting a lot of applications and rejecting a lot of interviews, for, you know, rejecting a lot of people after interviews and all that shit, thinking that y'all in some, you know, high seat of authority, that y'all are on a high horse, you're gonna be taken down too. And there's a lot of women in recruiting jobs, to be honest. And verse 10 says, "Many days and years shall ye be troubled, ye careless woman, for the vintage shall fail, the gathering shall not come. Trouble ye women that are at ease, be troubled, ye careless ones, strip you and make you bare, and gird sackcloth upon your loins. They shall lament for the teats, for the pleasant fields, for the fruitful vine." Right, because things ain't going to be the same once the Most High, of course, brings his judgment upon this place, America. And, you know, you're going to see those same companies that you was working for, you have held, you know, upper level management positions, even to the point where some of you women are not only the senior managers, some of y'all are actually directors as well. Well, hey, guess what? All that is going to be done away with, and eventually at some point, if a man or the Lord takes your ass in during Jacob's trouble, your ass is going to be a management of housekeeping. You're going to be a director of housekeeping. That's what you're going to do. Yep. Under your man's authority. And he's going to basically have multiple women, a man of the Lord, and you're going to have to pretty much abide by his rules, whether you like it or not. You know, and you're going to have to manage your emotions. You know, there's a lot of skills that you're going to have to develop, and you're going to have to learn how to manage, and you're going to have to learn how to, you know, even purge that feminist bitch behavior, you know, because scriptures say you're going to be saved in childbearing if you continue, you know, in the faith with holiness and sobriety, roughly paraphrasing. And nowadays it feels like, you know, you women even mentioning about how you have a high GPA, how you did all these internship experience, all that bullshit. Companies ain't even counting that anymore. They mostly caring about the experience that you actually have in, you know, doing the work that is really required for that particular position, you know. And if they see that your experience doesn't match up on the resume, like as much as to where they will, you know, accept you for the position, if you probably meet at least 7 out of 10 of the requirements, then, you know, and they also analyze how you were in the interview and the questions that you answered on interview as well. And you know, for the most part, they ain't gonna accept you if you don't meet their expected qualifications or the expected requirements. And another thing before I end this lesson, I just want to make my last point here. You know, for you women that are having a hard time finding employment in the particular position that you have tried to apply for, you know, in the particular job that you try to apply for the major that you studied in, you know, that situation alone should actually make you want to humble yourself down in terms of, you know, dating certain men, because, you know, a lot of y'all tend to have these outstanding requirements, thinking that a man gotta be of this sort of financial, he has to have this financial status and have to have a particular you know, social status in life, and he gotta have a certain particular height and come from a certain background for you to even, you know, date him. You know, all that type of requirements and all that shit is gonna be done away with in the times that we're gonna come into. And that complaining on social media, you know, that's just you feeling the effects of the beginning of sorrows. You know, it's gonna soon get to the point where you ain't gonna have no social media to voice your opinions anymore, and to, you know, just to vent and release your anger and your sadness or whatever emotions that you're feeling at the moment. Because sometimes on social media, you know, there'll be a lot of people posting some dumb shit just for content creation purposes. So this form of humbling is just the beginning for y'all. And with that, let's edify and say, call him Allah, Yahweh, Bashim, Al-Shah, Bashim, Al-Kakadash, the honors of the Apostle, Husband, no son, peace, I teach, Shalom.